parents who regretted having kids. What do you wish you had known before? Let me just ask them. One secretary. I don't regret having kids. But I do regret not doing/knowing the following before I had kids. 1. Travel. A lot. Everywhere. The farther the better. Spend your money on it. Use your time. 2. Don't brush off school districts and schools when you buy a house. It may not matter now, but it may be the things that changes your entire world in a few years. Don't be selfish, because it's a great price and you love the location now. But the schools are shit. Don't do that. You will be in a bad place later. 3. Make sure your spouse will really, truly cooperate with you. My cousin's husband would change her son's diapers, but not their daughters because that's weird. Figure it out before you're like 10 years into marriage and decide it's the right time. 4. Consider your family dynamic. Maybe you're just fine on your own with little help as an adult. But when you have kids, you need a village more than you'd like. Working with kids that constantly get sent home, sick and need to go to the doctor, special half days at school and long school breaks. If it is just up to you and your spouse to take time away for all of that, you better have an understanding job that provides ample time and/or very close family and friends that are willing to take kids, pick them up, do overnights, the whole deal. My parents are in Florida half the year and my in-laws work full-time. It's way more tough than I thought. I constantly feel like I'm going to get fired because I'm taking another unexpected day off because my kid can't go to daycare because they're sick. 5. If you really want to have kids, you better consider the fact that even though you feel pretty rich as a single person or maybe a 2-income household, that your area better have good, affordable daycare, or you or your spouse better be planning to stay home in order to afford a kid or more. I know lots of people who make good money who are shocked to figure out that basically they can only afford to have one kid because the cost of childcare or the cost of staying home was so great that they could barely afford it. I live in a place where daycare is very affordable. I have 3 kids and we pay over $30,000 a year for daycare, and that's just the tuition. This is not your parents' time, it's different out there now. 6. This one got me the most. How independent/selfish/lazy are you? Really? I'm what I considered to be a relatively well-adjusted only child. I'm used to my space, my own time, being independent. I'm also pretty lazy. When I come home on a weekday, I like to rest, watch a lot of TV, hang out. When I had kids, it was a huge change. Someone needs you all the damn time. It is unrelenting. You never have your own anything anymore. You spend almost all of your waking time that your children are there tending to your children's needs. You beat yourself up for not being good enough at it, for being pissed about how miserable it is sometimes, for hating it. You will hate it sometimes. You need to very seriously consider your stamina for caring for others and putting everyone else before yourself all the time. My mother made it clear to my sister and I that she had not wanted us, that I was the product of my dad's unrelenting badgering, and that my sister had been a noops. She was not a good mom at all. She screamed about everything. You never knew what would set her off. My parents divorced and we went on to be raised by my stepmom, not without her faults, but she as a saint. This woman did not technically want us either. She had not chosen to get pregnant with us, but she treated us just like her own. She planned and paid for, with my dad, my wedding. Things got better and my real mom is a good grandma now, but let me tell you, hearing "you are not wanted" as a child, even in passing, even Arisa Yoko can shape Somiana's entire life and self-worth. If this is you parents, don't you dare ever say it where they can hear you. Throw away for obvious reasons. I always knew from a young age that I didn't want children. My family is all very strict Catholic Hispanics and basically picked who I was going to marry from a young age. Fortunately I liked the guy, so we did end up married at 19. I was very honest about not wanting kids. He was okay with that. Our families were not. I ended up pregnant, even though I was taking birth control. More on that in a minute. Didn't notice the missed periods because the type of birth control I took let you skip periods. By the time I knew I was pregnant I was 5 months along, which is too late for an abortion. Had the baby. Found out while in the hospital I ended up pregnant because our families ordered fake birth control online and replaced my pills with the fakes. Needless to say, my husband and I were pissed. I also had horrific postpartum depression, but did the best I could. My husband took up drinking heavily to deal with the stress, and over day he just never came home. Haven't heard from him since. The baby was still an infant at that point, 4 months, and I made the decision to put her up for adoption and move away. Everyone says it's different when it's your own kid. Everyone says the first time you hold your baby you have an instant bond. Everyone says it's the most amazing / important thing a woman will ever do. None of that was true for me. I'm in my mid-30s now, and my daughter and her family made contact with me about 7 years ago. We talk regularly and I go visit for her birthday and some holidays. She knows the whole story, and while I'm sure she doesn't really understand, she's only 13, she at least gets it a little. If you know you don't want children, and have never wanted children, don't listen to people who tell you that you're wrong, and will change your mind. I'm trying to get my tubes tied to make sure it never happens again, but haven't had luck finding a doctor who's willing to, since I'm unmarried and under 40. Filed for divorce years ago, and since nobody could find him, it went through the same way it does for a missing person. We really need to stop acting like women don't understand their own bodies and wants. This fucking dilemma destroyed my relationship with what I considered to be the one. She wanted kids. I didn't. I decided to break up with her. It's better than regretting having kids. But the last time I felt genuinely happy was 3 years ago, and that also sucks a lot. Don't have kids when you struggle with mental illness. That I'd be up at 3:30 am and then 5 am every night because he wants to play. My only regret about having kids is that I wasn't mature enough to handle that type of responsibility. When my first came, I was determined that I can handle whatever comes our way. I was wrong. I was selfish and stressed my wife out a lot. I didn't want to spend any time with anyone else besides myself and became an alcoholic. I was really sad all the time and was feeling a lot of negative emotions about my social group. My plans for the future. Everything seemed to be out of reach. My wife and I argued a lot, but always worked things out for the sake that neither of us wanted our children in a separated family. When the second one came, I had stopped drinking as much and spent a lot of time working and saving money. I missed a lot of the milestones for both my children. It made me feel like I was alone, and I felt like a terrible father, and felt a distance growing in my relationship with my wife. At some points I deeply resented the three of them, and I thought about leaving on more than one occasion for various situations we were in. I eventually hit a point where I felt my soul being crushed, and I figured, it's fine, whatever. I can be miserable as long as they're happy. And I stayed that way for a good 2 years. Gradually I started to bond with my kids again and just stuck around for them. Then I started bonding with my wife again. Now our family is functioning on all fronts. It took 6 years for me to grow up and become a better father and husband. I regret that it took so long and feel ashamed of how I screwed up at the beginning. My first doesn't like me as much as my second. And my relationship with my wife is nothing like it was before having kids. I wish I had known how. Kids not only change your perspective, they also change your future and the relationships you have with others. If you try to fight it, you will lose in one way or another. Selfishness is a quality which only makes parenting harder than it has to be. Edit. Thank you for the silver. Sometimes my husband regretted it. He felt like he lost me in the process, as our baby took up all of my and his time and energy. Our baby is now a toddler, and Theo have bonded. He sees the benefits now. But if you would have asked him a year ago, he would have told you it feels like a life sentence. If anyone out there feels like they are not wanted in a wholesome way, I'll totally be your Reddit mom. For anyone now childless and is on the fence about having kids, if you have doubts, having kids is not for you. I have 3 kids. I've always wanted kids. I love my kids dearly and wouldn't change a thing. But they are a fuck ton of work and as exhausting as you could ever imagine. Parenting sucks the life out of you. But it's also amazing and rewarding. Imo. You should only have them if you know for certain that you really want them. That my shit ex was going to bail and leave me hating myself and him. Underscore. Seriously, please like and subscribe and comment something nice for your favorite Reddit slave. I don't have kids and have never wanted kids. I had surgery to make sure of it as soon as I could, and I have never felt better about a decision in my life. My parents, however, are a different story. Bad mental health runs on both sides of the family, and my dad is currently falling apart because of his own mental health struggles, but refuses to seek help. My mom is one step behind him and resents him, even though she stays with him. Often I have heard my mom say the following about my dad's mom, who had poorly treated schizophrenia and struggled her whole life. She had no business having kids. So my mom feels that my dad had no business being born. Yet mom still had several kids with him. Don't be like my mom. If you marry someone who ends up being a different person and having a different family/gene pool than what you were led to believe, please think twice about having kids with that person. I have struggled my whole life with depression and anxiety and didn't have a chance so far as genes on both sides of my family go. I work extremely hard at having a normal healthy life and sometimes I even succeed. But I sure wish I didn't have to live like that. TL. Doctor, if you think maybe you shouldn't procreate with a certain person, you probably shouldn't.